The following podcast is brought to you in association with Let Us Talk Mental Health, the football team raising money for mental health charity Mind. You can follow them on Twitter at letustalk_MH, and also brought to you in association with the Proper Blokes Club, walking and talking, breaking the stigma surrounding men's mental health. For more information, go to www.theproperblokesclub.co.uk.
Welcome to Football Thunders on the 8th of September 2022. We will start with some sad news today. We lost the Queen Elizabeth II, so our thoughts go out to Her Majesty and her family. Hello, Ryan. How are you today?
I'm good, Dan. Thank you. It's been a bit of a surprise. The news came rather suddenly that she was declared quite ill this morning, and she sadly passed away. So my condolences to her family and to the new king. May she rest in peace. She was honestly, she was a pillar of strength, of dignity, of class. I'm not much for the royal family, but I can't praise the woman high enough. So may she rest in peace, Your Majesty.
Yeah, and of course, for me especially, I think a lot of people say the same. Her speech during COVID was uplifting at a time when it was hard, and that's brought me quite emotional all of a sudden. So we'll do what she would have wanted us to do, and we'll move on to going about our normal business, and we'll talk about some football because yes, the news has been overshadowed, but there was quite a bit of football news going on today. So we'll start with Chelsea have sacked Thomas Tuchel since we've been away. So we'll start with that, Ryan. What's your views on Thomas Tuchel's sacking?
I'm surprised he's been fired, but I'm also not surprised he's been fired. I will apologise for my voice in advance. I'm recovering from a very nasty cold. I didn't think he deserved to be fired, but looking at the way the new regime at Chelsea have gone about their business, I think it was only a matter of time before he was going to be fired, because they have literally removed anyone and everybody that was ever associated with Roman Abramovich. From Peter Cech, who lost his job as technical director, the head of transfer negotiations, Marian, I'm afraid I think it's Marian something or other. I can't pronounce her name.
Mariana Rapakostic? I know you're about, yeah.
A much better job than me. There you go. Those are just the big ones that we've heard of. So it doesn't surprise me that he's gone in that respect. I don't think he should have gone. I think they've made quite a big error. But looking at it objectively, I also think there was something underlying as well. Thomas Tuchel has not been happy this season with transfer policy. His behaviour on the pitch side, we saw with Antonio Conte, was,
and the week after,
borderline unprofessional. His press conferences have been spiky, to say the least. So overall, I'm not surprised. I think it's a mistake. I think they should have supported him, given him who they want. I think the new owner needs to take a lot of responsibility, because the owners knew what was coming this summer. They knew that they were losing pretty much their whole defence in one regard or another. And it took them well beyond pre-season to fill those holes in. They got Koulibaly in, they got Fofana in. They massively overpaid for Fofana and Cucurella, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think that the new owner's coming in thinking he's playing Football Manager and is going to control as much as he possibly can. I'm not sure that's going to work for too long, but I do think the owner has to take the vast majority of the blame or responsibility for what has gone wrong with Chelsea so far this season.
I thought that the end of Thomas Tuchel happened in January. Chelsea's form dropped around Christmas. They never really recovered. They had enough points to kind of get Champions League football, but there was a point where they were looking over their shoulder at Tottenham and Arsenal, and they scraped over the line on the basis that Arsenal and Man United were shit. The Lukaku thing, although it was, as we covered on the show, like Lukaku was a twat, we just covered that. But I think Tuchel came out of that in a strange light. Not like a bad light, but just it was a bit strange from that moment on. Things didn't quite sit right for whatever reason. Whether he didn't want Lukaku there in the first place, we don't really know. And I think since then there's been a slow decline. Yeah, was it too early? Possibly. Listen, losing to Dynamo was the end, but obviously there was rumours that it was going to happen regardless. I was not. I mean, people will disagree. You might even disagree. I wasn't completely shocked that they lost in Dynamo. I think an away game in Croatia is not particularly friendly. You should still win because of the quality, but it's one of those games which is could throw up a big result. We've seen it in the Champions League. Madrid, Barca have all lost big games in. I think Real Madrid lost to Ludogorets last year or someone like that. Oh, Sheriff of
Yeah.
Moldova. So these kind of results, and Dynamo are a much better side than Sheriff.
Yes.
So the result wasn't shocking. The performance wasn't even bad. Like Chelsea played well. They just couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo, which is something that we covered in the summer. We talked quite a lot, didn't we, about Chelsea to get a striker. I don't think we really covered Aubameyang's move, but I don't think that answers the questions that they have.
No, I don't think there's any answers for Chelsea, to be honest. I think it is a case of what the new owner says goes. And
Chelsea,
that's all you get.
Chelsea have always won things when they've got a focal striker who does the job, and obviously every club is the same more or less, apart from Man City last year. Really, Chelsea two spells of dominance was they had Drogba and Diego Costa. And I say what you want about Diego Costa, scored goals,
Yep.
did the dirty work, did the job. Drogba was one of my favourite Premier League players of all time. So they always had that man. And I look at Chelsea squad now, and you've got the nice pieces like Sterling and Havertz and I was going to say Pulisic, but we won't count that one. Reece James and even Loftus-Cheek. They're all good. You know how they play. Chilwell. You don't have a striker. You don't have that final piece. That is so crucial. Look at Arsenal, for instance. I don't think Arsenal are going to win the league, but you can tell the difference now they've got Jesus up front. You can see the difference because they've got someone leading the line. Chelsea's leading the line with Havertz, or I think Sterling did it at one point. Like, as much as I'm someone compared to many people who don't rate Sterling, I really like Raheem Sterling, but I don't think he can lead a line, especially the way that Chelsea play. I still think they miss that Diego Costa form, who is back in the Premier League, by the way.
Yes, he's just turned up at Wolves after having his appeal for a work permit accepted.
So we'll go on to talk about who Chelsea have brought in. It seemed when it was first announced that Chelsea were, according to some sources, quite close to bringing in not Pep, Pochettino. It'd be great if they brought in Pep. That'd have been fun. Instead, they've gone and done something that I never thought we'd actually see from a top side. And they brought in an English manager, and Graham Potter now manages a top four side. I quite like the appointment from Chelsea's side of things. I don't know if he's going to be given the leeway that he got at Brighton. I actually had Graham Potter down as the one to replace Southgate, so that's not going to happen. Well, it might do because they might be gone by Christmas. What do you think, Ryan?
That's the problem. He's going to get 18 months. That's the way Chelsea roll. I know there's new management come in.
He signed 5 years.
Well, this is the thing. I think the reason that they've done
Pay
that
off.
is because I think they brought him in not to be a manager in the old sense of the word, but to be a head coach and train whatever he is given.
Yeah, I just think Chelsea, well, no matter who they brought in, it was the never-ending merry-go-round that is Chelsea Football Club. I'm excited to see what Graham Potter can do, but as you said, like he's going to be there 18 months, and they'll move him on as soon as they see any sign of dodginess.
Well, the only counter argument to that is obviously there's new owners, a new board, and a new structure in place.
They buggered Tuchel off at speed.
But yes, that's the other thing is they're fucking off people as fast as they want. So if the owner turns on Graham Potter, then he's going to be out just as quickly as he came in. I mean, he was in within 48 hours. So that tells you how quickly that they're going to do their deal. I mean, I'd heard from the sources that I follow that it was going to be Pochettino within 48 hours. They got the 48-hour part right. They just got the manager wrong.
I'd like to see him do well, Graham Potter. But again, you're at Chelsea. It's never ending. It's nice to see someone giving a young British manager a chance. That's what I will say. He's done well for Brighton. At what point I made this joke earlier. So in January, how much did Danny Welbeck sign for Chelsea? What's the price tag?
I don't think he will, to be honest.
I
I
said
think
7.5. They need
I
a
think
striker. They need him.
well, they've got
He'd
Aubameyang
do well for
now.
him. Yeah, but Welbeck can hold the ball.
There are a few players involved in this scenario that I would be quite annoyed with if I was them. Sorry, not annoyed with them. I would be annoyed if I was them. Which would one be Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who had a fantastic relationship with Thomas Tuchel, only to come in on deadline day to find his manager go within a couple of days. And the other one is Billy Gilmour, who signed for Brighton from Chelsea. Oh, yeah. And now the manager who has signed him has left Brighton to go to his old club, Chelsea. So if I'm Billy Gilmour, I'm probably a bit peed. But in defence of Brighton, they have a very meticulous way of scouting, and they have a specific idea of what they're doing. And so I think Billy Gilmour would have been signed whether Graham Potter would have been there or not, because he fits their ideology and their style of play.
So I just thought I'd have a look at Brighton's managerial odds. The favourite right now is Ange Postecoglou.
Oh, Celtic.
The Celtic manager.
All right.
He is 6-1. Then 8-1 is Steve Cooper. No, 4-1, Steve Cooper. 8-1, Nathan Jones, who, if people don't know, is the Luton manager, has links to Brighton, was at Brighton for a long, long time. So that one wouldn't particularly surprise. And then 12-1, this is an interesting one, Brendan Rodgers.
Why? What has he possibly done to deserve
just trying to get rid of
somewhere else?
And then the other one is 12-1 Sean Dyche. Now, I don't think Brighton will go for him because of his style.
No, absolutely.
I think they're more likely to go for... Ange Postecoglou has turned Celtic into, like, no one in Scotland can touch them. Rangers, all I will say, they've ploughed Rangers twice.
All I will say is, while he has done a very good job, and while he has had success, Rangers have also severely shit the bed under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. They are not playing well. They've lost a couple of key players as well. There seems to be
he turned them over last year as well.
But there seems to be a fundamental lack of discipline under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst at the moment. Joe Aribo left. I think that's a big loss for Rangers. I think he was a far better player than a lot of people give credit. And the situation around Alfredo Morelos, we always knew he had a temperament and he would be a liability in terms of a red card. But apparently he's turned up this season massively unfit, massively overweight, so completely unprofessional by all accounts. And that's led to a lack of goals up front for Rangers, because he was such a curious character.
They've still scored goals.
They have,
Kodak scored quite a lot of goals.
They're also getting spanked.
They can't defend. But they couldn't defend. This is the thing, even under Gerrard, like when they won the league, they couldn't defend. They just outscored teams because they had Morelos and Kent, and Aribo was so big in that team.
But that's the biggest problem. Arguably their two most important goal scorers in Aribo from midfield and Morelos up front. They've no longer got those two options. So
their defence is aging.
Yeah, they've tried to...
How old's McGregor now? 37 in goal? He's
something like 37. That, yeah.
James Tavernier is 31. Barisic, I think, is closing in on 30. Goldson, and who plays next to Goldson nowadays? Jamie Sands, but he's awful. Before it was... Who was the Leon Balogun, who, again, he was old, but he did a really good job for them.
And he's also been released.
Calvin Batty, Bassi, whatever you pronounce it. Obviously went to Ajax as well.
Their left back who was rip-roaring successful for Steven Gerrard. He was a complete unknown who came out of nowhere.
Bugger all.
Yeah.
From Leicester.
Came out of absolute nowhere and became a star, and very quickly left.
He's a tank.
Yeah, he is. He's amazing.
He's huge.
Very good player. Very, very good player. I was surprised that he moved so quickly, actually, and that no one from the Premier League came calling for him.
I don't know how much they paid for him, to be fair. And did they pay 15-30 mil for him in the end?
Something like that, yeah.
And Rangers didn't really reinvest it, so
no,
it kind of falls back on them, doesn't it?
Rangers are a shit show at the moment, whether people want to admit it or not. It's not good.
I have no idea how we got to Rangers. But we'll move on to our next topic, which is obviously Liverpool. Ryan, you said you wanted to speak about Liverpool, so I'll let you set this one up.
Well, they've fallen off the face of the earth, really, haven't they? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a bit astounded by some Liverpool fans because they're calling for the owners out and they're calling for Klopp to be sacked.
Well,
And I'm like, what planet are you on? Liverpool have set an incredible pace over the last 3-4 years. Had it not been for Manchester City, they would have won the Premier League, what, 3 out of the last 4 years? There's
one of those years they were heavy hit by injuries, heavy hit by injuries.
And they've formed a squad of astounding players in the likes of Virgil van Dijk, who's obviously not in good form at the moment. Salah, who's a bit off of his game. He's not performing at a high level. But at the end of the day, no team can run that hot forever. They won a Champions League. They won a Premier League for the first time ever. I think there was a point difference between them and City in 2 out of the last 4 seasons or something.
I think they got didn't they get 98 points? Didn't win the league.
Yeah, it's
97, something like that.
Been astounding. And now Jurgen Klopp is changing the dynamic of the side. Both teams, well, no, it's not only that, but both teams I've noticed, both Manchester City and Liverpool seem to think that this summer that the only way that they could break away from the other one without it being a close race was to get an out-and-out number 9 in, which neither team played with. If you looked at Liverpool the last 2 years, it was Firmino or Jota, who are both link players. They're not target men. They're not out-and-out strikers. And Manchester City, it was the same. It was, who are you going to play up front as a false 9 this week? 1 minute it was Sterling, then it was Kevin De Bruyne. Foden had to go up there. Jesus had to go up there. So they both went out and spent absolute fortunes on strikers. Arguably, City got the better of the deal, but Liverpool have obviously signed £100 million central striker.
Yeah. Have you seen, I think it might have been you that sent it to me actually, the video of Trent?
You sent it to me on Twitter.
It was me sending it to you.
Of him not defending.
I mean, listen, Gomez is equally at fault because he switches off when he follows the man wide. He effectively does Trent's job. Then when the ball comes inside, Gomez turns off. So it's also Gomez's fault. But Trent is just stood out of position watching the game.
I don't think he's even actually out of position. If you just watch it, he just literally stops. And it was arguably, if I remember rightly, wasn't it a ex-Fulham player who's now playing for Napoli? He's got 4 names, something Anguissa.
Frank Anguissa.
He just literally, Trent followed him while the ball went back out the box and then just stood there and then watched Anguissa run straight past him and slap the ball in the back of the net. So
both Gomez and Trent. I think Gomez engaged him at first and then second time just watched.
Oh, was it? I thought it was Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Well, they were both there.
But a lot of people are arguing that it's actually Liverpool's midfield that's the problem. I mean, their midfield is grim. It is,
but
and to be honest, well, no, I actually think it's a mixture of a lot of things. I think the chemistry up front has changed because obviously Mane's gone and they've brought in a completely different style of player. They brought in, as we've joked before, an Andy Carroll type player. So that's changed the dynamic up front. The midfield has massive injuries at the moment, and you're relying on a 37-year-old James Milner, who, amazing as he has been throughout his career, Mr. Consistency, Mr. Never Lets You Down. He's 37 years old. He can barely run anymore, despite his best efforts. So you're not going to be able to rely on a midfield of Henderson, who's 34, 35, James Milner, who's 37, and Fabinho, who's not the most mobile. I know Henderson's now injured and they put Harvey Elliott in instead, but he's a kid with no experience.
For instance, like with yesterday's team, they didn't play Núñez. They played a front three that should be quite used to playing, quite used to playing together. I think they really missed Jota to be that kind of busy boy body.
He's the link player,
because Diaz and Salah, I think, are very similar. Whereas Mane and Jota were the support men that did things well. I don't personally get the hype for Thiago when he's fit.
He's a baller, there's no doubt. He is a baller.
Never fit.
He doesn't stay fit. But
I think the back four, Trent needs to be dropped. But then the problem is they've not really got anyone to replace him. Do you play Calvin Ramsey out there? possibly. Gomez has played crap at centre back, so you don't really want to put him out of position.
I
Do you
think
give some?
that's I think that's the key position that people are missing. Is Liverpool's success came with Matip and Van Dijk as
Yeah,
the
and then last
centre
year
halves.
Konate. Matip
That
is
is
back now though, so
Yeah, that is their key. That was always their key pairing for me because it allowed everybody else to go and do what you think. You had that little triangle of Fabinho in front of Matip and Van Dijk, and that allowed the fullbacks to go forwards. And sorry, I've said this as a wind up on Facebook, but I do genuinely think it's true. Is that Gomez is just not as good as people thought he was going to be. He's never
he's
been
not.
able to. I don't think he's developed the way people thought he was going to be able to
No,
develop
you had too
because of
many
his
injuries.
injuries. As I said to
You
you,
had too many
joking with
injuries.
you, he's Liverpool's answer to Phil Jones without the talent for making faces.
I
That
still think he should have gone and signed
that
rather than signing that new deal.
Yeah, I agree. I expected him to turn up at Aston Villa. I honestly did, but I think that if they put Matip back in there, then I think they've got a chance to solidify things again. Just get that
If
partnership back in, and then you can work
if
the
I'm
rest out.
if I'm Klopp this weekend, I'm playing Calvin Ramsey at right back because even if he's fresh, he can't do worse than Trent has. Matip's back with Van Dijk and play Tamikas and just give Robertson and Trent some time. just relax. Like they've played basically 4 years of football straight. They're having a bit of a rough term for the first time probably in. Well, I mean, I have had many conversations with people about Trent. I think we have on this podcast. We said a lot about what we thought about Trent. I saw someone the other day was telling me about, oh, but Trent is your modern day right back, and so that's fine. I said for a team like Liverpool, I said, but when they're under pressure, like they were yesterday, he can't hack it.
I think for me, if I'm Jurgen Klopp right now, I'm putting Joe Gomez in at right back. I'm bringing Matip back into the centre just to solidify things. Trent is a modern day fullback, as people keep saying, but I think as we discussed on previous week's podcast, the attacking fullback I think has been sus this year. People have finally figured out to attack the spaces that are left behind immediately as soon as a Liverpool or a Manchester City lose the
But
ball.
how has it only just been realised? I've been
I,
saying it for years.
yeah, but I think it's more a case of fear. It's just like we just can't figure out a way to get from defensive mode to attacking mode.
Like,
Whereas now they're
for,
like putting people out there.
yeah, I mean, for instance, look at the way Palace have played Man City in Liverpool years. They've pretty much always got points
Yeah, and if you look at
against Millwall because they attack.
and if you look at the strength of their team, it's largely from attacking players that play in wide areas. So like
Yeah, they give the ball
Saha,
to the
Elise,
heart. They also who was one? They put Jordan Ayew out on the right against Palace, and I know he's awful against Palace against Man City, but because of the gaps they left for him, he was able to just sit there and
yeah.
piss about, and it worked. But Palace had been doing this for years. It's not a Patrick Vieira thing. Roy Hodgson was the same. He could go up to City and Liverpool and get points.
But I mean, do you think Klopp should be fired?
No, not a chance. But I did find it interesting that stat that he lasted 7 years at Dortmund and 7 years at Mainz, and this is his 7th year at Liverpool.
Yeah, I was going to say Pete did bring that one up to us in the group chat. He's obviously not with us tonight because he's working. But there is that.
Queen died. So.
Yeah, no, I know. But
Busy for radio.
Yeah, it is the 7-year itch, as he referred to it. I'm not sure. I just think they're going through a transition period, and I think he's tried to counteract Manchester City and sign a goal scorer to get them over that line to get that extra point that will take them, or that extra 3 points that will get them above City. And I just think it's teething problems and a learning curve. And I think Liverpool would be mad to sack him. I know this still sounds very weird coming from a Manchester United fan, but I mean, I've even seen Liverpool fans having a go at the owners for trying to break even in the transfer market to make sure that the club turns a profit. And I just find it a bit bizarre considering they've just spent £100 million on a striker. How's that trying to break even? Sure, they're not making £100 million in transfers every year.
Can't even think if they've sold anyone this year, have they?
Apart from Mane, who went for a bargain. It was like 30 million quid or something, which was ridiculous.
Sadio Mane. True.
I think they do need to sort out that midfield because Oxlade-Chamberlain, as much as I love Oxlade-Chamberlain, never
He hasn't
stays
played
fit.
for years. Both him and Naby Keita left out of the squads, so we won't see either of them anyway.
And Naby Keita must have a serious injury then.
No, they're trying to get rid of him, aren't they? They want him gone. He turned down a deal.
Okay. But they've got a lot of injuries in that midfield. And as I said, Henderson, Milner, I know you and Pete disagree with me about Henderson's time being over for England, but he's 34, 35 now. He's well past his best.
No, he's not.
Who?
Jordan Henderson's not 34, 35.
Yes, he is. Surely.
No, he's not.
I need to Google this.
32.
No way.
Yeah. He ain't that old. Milner's that old.
Milner's 37.
But yeah.
I'm Googling this now because I'm
Sure,
convinced
Henderson's
he's 34.
32. I'm sure he turned 32 over the summer.
Oh my God, you're right. Okay, I'm going to have to get off Jordan Henderson's back a bit then. Sorry, I thought he was 34. I've always thought he was a good player, but I thought he was 34 and coming well past his peak. But he's 32,
no.
so I withdraw a previous statement about Jordan Henderson.
I've gone opposite on Jordan Henderson. I used to be in the against Jordan Henderson camp. And then I started to look a bit more into detail and thought, actually, you know what? He's good.
So, yeah, I withdraw that about Jordan Henderson. But by the same token, Keita's not signed a new deal, so they're not going to play him. There's several there that are injury prone. They've got a couple of good...
and bought Artur.
Yeah, they've got him on loan. And they've got a couple of good youngsters in Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott. I'm still not convinced Harvey Elliott's a central midfielder, though. I think he should be playing up front.
He was really good for Blackburn, playing off the wing, I think.
Yeah, I would put him as an inside forward up front.
Sure, Blackburn.
To be an alternative to Diaz or Salah, because Salah's not exactly setting the world on fire at the moment.
Oh, Salah. He struggles about Mane, bless his cottons.
Well, no, but to be fair to him, how long can you perform at such an outstanding level before you have a dip in form? You can't do it forever. I saw one Liverpool fan, or claimed to be Liverpool fan, actually say to me on Twitter that Salah has not been the best in the world for the last few years. And I was just like, are you sure? What crack have you been smoking?
De Bruyne has been. Still, I would agree with him, but only to say that De Bruyne, I'd give it to De Bruyne for at least the last 3 years. But Salah's up there. He's probably
I was going to say, you can't deny that Salah's not been world class for the last
But then I
3
think
years.
Sadio Mane was also horrendously underrated.
Yes, but I think he only moved for money, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
If Liverpool had offered him the deal he wanted, which was about 400 grand a week, then he would have stayed at Liverpool, let's be real.
Indeed. So I think we'll finish on the Liverpool topic there. So on to our final topic before we head on to our game that we've slightly adjusted for this week. For those that haven't seen, or you probably will know by now, Jordan Pickford is injured, and Everton said he'll miss the upcoming international break. We'll be back just after, but obviously that opens up for England. They play, I think it's Italy and Germany, coming up. That might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Italy and Germany.
What is it, Nations League?
Yeah, so it's either two of Italy, Germany, or Holland. So that opens up who's going to be England's number one, with two really in-form English keepers right now in Henderson and Pope.
You're forgetting one.
Am I?
Yeah.
Who?
Aaron Ramsdale.
Oh, yeah, 3 in-form England goalkeepers.
3 very good England goalkeepers with 3 very good
Italy and
choices
Germany,
to make. That's why I was surprised when you spoke about it earlier. You were like, it's got to be between Pope or Henderson. And I was like, I'm going to wait for the podcast before I do this one. Yeah.
But yeah, now you said it, I'd pick Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was like. I'm going to wait for the podcast to drop on this one so that I can have this conversation with him. Because why would you put either of the other two in when you've got Aaron Ramsdale waiting there?
They're the 3 keepers in the squad.
top of the table, you know. Has the squad been announced?
No, but they're going to be in it.
They're going to be in it.
The rumor this morning was Henderson comes in for Pope, comes in for Pickford, Eric Diaz coming in for Maguire. And there was another one, and I can't remember.
Do you honestly think he's going to drop Maguire?
Yeah,
honestly?
I don't, but this is what this kind of report was saying that Maguire's going to be dropped, or the was going to come in.
For me, it's Ramsdale. I'm a big fan of Henderson, as you know, being a Man United fan, and his performances for Sheffield
Never
United.
mentioned it.
I've never mentioned it before on this podcast, but he's only had a couple of decent games for Forest. So
I think Pope's bloody good at Newcastle, by the way.
yes,
Which I mean, I was surprised back because he's a good keeper, but he has looked really good.
Nick
But you're
Pope
right.
is a very good
No one touches
goalkeeper.
Ramsdale.
Yeah,
Aaron Ramsdale. I mean, Ramsdale over Pickford probably.
but this goes back to my previous rant about Gareth Southgate not starting other goalkeepers and always playing Pickford.
He occasionally throws in Pope, but it's very occasionally.
Yeah, but there's no point if we're playing friendlies or what's it called, the Conference League or whatever it is,
Nation League, yeah.
the Nations
I have
League.
a feeling we'll see one keeper against Italy and a different one against Germany.
Yeah, but you don't want to do that. Let's be honest. If Gareth Southgate had done his job properly, then he would have had Pickford in for the Euro qualifiers and the World Cup qualifiers, and he would have used the Conference Nations League or Two Bob Cup, whatever it's called, to give another goalkeeper 2 or 3 games in a row to see if they can stick up to the metal. So you play them against a couple of crack teams.
So far in the Nations League.
Are you sure?
Pickford played against Hungary.
Right.
And Pope played against Germany and Italy.
Right, okay. But
but before that,
reign,
you're right.
Yeah, over his reign, he's not done that.
The only game he normally makes the changes up when we play Monaco, or like Monaco, is that even that's not a team. When we play like Malta or San Marino, then he still picks Jordan Pickford in this. So that's when he picks Henderson, and it's like why?
No good. They're not going to learn anything. And
you're not learning.
You also need to know whether they can do it against the top teams, and you're not going to find that out when they're playing Azerbaijan.
But hopefully, I have a feeling Ramsdale plays one and Pope plays the other. No, you reckon?
I would play Aaron Ramsdale in both. I'm sorry, I genuinely would. I would give him both games and probably a couple more to find out if he can do it against the big boys.
Well, the next game after the Germany game is the World Cup, so it'll be warm-up friendlies, and I think he'll probably try to keep Pickford in goal. If he chooses Pickford as his one, which he probably will.
Yeah, he's not going to drop Pickford. We've both agreed there's not going to be many changes to the squad.
I think 2 or 3. I mean, I genuinely believe there's going to be someone different up front. Maybe Rashford gets back in, or Sancho should be back in for sure, but not for sure, as in for SURE, not the fat left back at Man United. Although he might make it in the squad as well, just because. No, he'll pick his 5 right backs, won't he? He'll pick Chilwell and Trippier and Reece James and Trent and Carl Walker, and the other right backs that might get a shout.
Reece James,
Ashley Young, maybe. I don't know. Oh, that's it. It's Trent. It's normally Trent. Trent. He's Polish.
Oh yeah, he's played for Poland now, isn't he?
Scored for Poland as well.
There's nobody off the top of my head I can think about because Jed Spence doesn't seem to be playing for
too young. Wan-Bissaka's committed to Congo, although he's not in the Man United team at the minute. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard that.
Although he's not in the Man United team, so it doesn't make a difference.
Is he in the Congo squad? Does he play for Congo?
I don't think he's played for them yet, but I think he's kind of started the paperwork with FIFA.
I mean, Aaron Ramsdale, I'm just looking now on Wikipedia. According to this, he's only played 3 times for England.
Yeah, one was in
debut.
He made his debut against
San Marino.
Yeah, and his second cap was just before the Euros against, was it Romania? I want to say. I do remember.
More caps than that. I'm sorry. We know what Pickford can do. We know he can be relied upon. So it's time to test somebody else.
Speaking of it's time to test, shall we move on to our game?
Yes, we shall. I've come fully prepared.
So, a slight adaptation this week. Obviously, in previous weeks, we've done players and we've got to guess the club. Well, this week we've spun it around. So we've got 3 players each. We're going to list the clubs that they've played for, and the other one's got to try and guess the player. Now, this is harder. So I'll go first. This player started his career at Manchester United.
Okay.
Wigan.
Right.
Newcastle United. Blackburn Rovers. Leicester City, Sheffield United, Charlton Athletic, Bradford City, and then after that, non-league. So we'll stop there.
Manchester United, Wigan, Blackburn Rovers.
No. Newcastle, Blackburn Rovers,
Newcastle, Blackburn Rovers,
Leicester, Sheffield United,
Leicester,
Charlton
Sheffield
Athletic,
United,
and
Charlton,
Bradford.
and Bradford.
Do you want to know the year he debuted, or was that cheating?
This is not going to be right, but my mind instantly thinks Michael Stewart. But
It's
that's
not
not
Michael
going to be
Stewart,
correct.
no.
It's not going to be Darren Gibson.
No, he never left Charlton. Thank God for that.
I'm trying to think of Man United players that played for Charlton. You've got Stewart, you've got David Petruzzi.
Oh, dear Lord.
Chris Eagles?
No. Hard. This is a hard game.
This is genuinely hard. Chris Eagles has played for
Do you want a clue?
Charlton. Go on then.
He made 86 appearances for Northern Ireland.
For Northern, okay. Played for Charlton, Northern Ireland.
I've got one more clue as well.
Corey Evans.
No.
No, it's not going to be Johnny Evans either. Northern
Right,
Irish.
okay. So your last clue, I'll give you two
Go
clues.
on.
He made his Manchester United debut in 1993.
1993. Northern Irish, 1993. Keith Gillespie.
It's Keith Gillespie, yeah.
When did he play for Charlton?
We got him on loan for Sheffield United in 2008. I actually quite liked
that's
him,
what
but
threw
he got
me.
injured.
I never realised Keith Gillespie played for Charlton.
Yeah, briefly.
Okay.
He was shit. He weren't too bad, to be fair.
Right.
But you're up.
Let's give you one that I think you'll like.
My next one's a complete fucker.
Right.
You might get it, though.
This one I think you might get.
Go on.
Really quickly, but I'll give it a go. Wimbledon.
Right.
Tottenham Hotspur.
Yep.
Charlton. West Brom. Luton Town. And Southampton.
Wimbledon to Tottenham.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tottenham to Charlton. Then after who from Charlton?
West Bromwich Albion.
Wimbledon. And not AFC, it would have been Wimbledon.
Yes. He started his career there.
Oh, is it Chris Perry?
It is Chris Perry, yeah. I thought you'd like that one because I know how much you love Chris Perry.
I forgot that he was at Wimbledon. I was thinking, who the fuck was Tottenham? Chris Perry was at Wimbledon, yeah. Didn't know he played for Luton.
Yeah, towards the end of his career.
Right. I've done fuckers, so I apologise in advance.
No, that's fine.
This one. He started his career at Velji Bud Club.
Never heard of that.
Went to Hamburg.
Whoa.
Everton.
Right.
Real Madrid. Celtic.
Is that it, yeah?
Yep.
So he went from Everton to Real Madrid to Celtic.
Yep.
It's going to be Thomas Gravison, isn't it?
I love Thomas Gravison.
Do I go for the easier one or the harder one? Right, I'll go for the harder one.
I think I started with the hardest one.
This one might be really difficult for you, but I thought I'd do a really hard one just in case. I think this one was more for Pete, but never mind. Nantes, Marseille, AC Milan, Chelsea, Al Jarafa, and Qatar SC.
Nantes, AC Milan.
Nantes, Marseille, AC Milan, Chelsea, Al Jarafa.
Nantes as in Nantes.
Yeah, and Qatar SC.
No. To AC Milan to Chelsea. And after Chelsea, he went to Al Jafar, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
You want a clue?
Yeah. It's Marc Alessian.
No, it's not.
Bollocks.
The clue is he's French.
Oh, yeah, that one should have written. He's French. The only Frenchman that's coming to mind. Not Florent Malouda, is it?
No.
French.
I'll give you a second clue.
Go on.
He's a World Cup winner.
Marcel Desailly.
Yes.
At first I thought Petit, and I thought, no, he's at Arsenal, wasn't he, for a while? Before he was at Chelsea.
Go on then, give me your third.
Right, okay. Started at PSV.
Right.
Went to Barcelona.
Okay.
Chelsea.
Right.
Middlesbrough. Liverpool. Marseille. And Sunderland.
Right, sorry, read that one again for me. PSV
started at PSV.
went to Barcelona.
Yep.
Then
Chelsea.
Went to Chelsea.
Middlesbrough.
Then to Middlesbrough.
Liverpool.
Then to Liverpool.
Marseille.
Then off to Marseille.
And then ended his career at Sunderland.
Finished his career at Sunderland. And he started in Holland. That's a bit of a trek around the world.
He had a tour.
Europe, anyway.
Would you like a clue?
Bodevine Zenden?
Yeah!
It was the only one I could think of that was the link between Liverpool and PSV. I was like, who the fuck? And then I remembered he played for Sunderland. So I was just like, okay. Right. Are you ready? I'll give you my last one.
Well, I think so.
Right. Sporting CP, Manchester United, Fenerbahce, Valencia, Lazio, Orlando City.
Manny.
Yeah, Venezia and then Milan.
Where is he now?
I think he's in America at the moment. Last I heard. Speaking of former Manchester United players who are in America, did you see Chicharito's penalty?
So I laughed my balls off.
Oh, 2-2 in the final few minutes of the game that they needed to win. And he went for a Panenka straight into the goalkeeper's hands.
Dick.
Holy moly. Honest to God.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing that in the last minute, you are rebelling. So, I think that comes to the end of today's Football Thunders. So, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me.
You're very welcome.
And we'll end how we begun, just because I found a nice little poem that someone's put, and I'm going to read the first thing. Obviously, the Queen died today. It said, Philip came to me today and said it was time to go. I looked at him and smiled and whispered, I know. So, again, as we started the podcast, we'll say, rest in peace to Queen Elizabeth and long live the King.